This is a phenomenal question because the answer is, I don't know. You're asking me what happened before the Big Bang, before time started. What happened before the concept of before made any sense? It makes no sense, but it must surely have an answer, right? Or does it? Or does it need to? We have no idea. And that's the best part about questions like this. In fact, it's one of the best parts about science in general, is that it reminds us that it's okay to say, I don't know, as long as you follow it up with, yet. I'm not content with not knowing. It burns my brain to not know. I'm dying to know. But I don't. And nobody else does either. So until we get really, really, really good at physics, what happened before the Big Bang will remain a mystery.
These are some of my favorite plants in the entire world. They look like bamboo, but they're not bamboo. They're tall and skinny, like a grass or a sedge, but they're not grasses or sedges either. They don't produce flowers or even seeds. They reproduce through spores the same way that ferns do, but they are certainly not ferns. These guys are called horsetails. And they're so aggressive in the way that they grow, and they're so incredibly abundant that lots of people think that they're invasive. But they're actually native all over North America, Asia, and Europe. Really anywhere where there's fresh water. They can even grow in the water like cattails do. The reason I love them so much is because they've been around for over 350 million years. That's during the Paleozoic era, 100 million years before the dinosaurs even showed up. So next time you're around really any fresh water in the Northern Hemisphere, take a second to find these living artifacts of our Earth's history.
2.5 million years ago, the Earth was getting cooler and drier, changing the landscape of our home, Africa. And at that time, our ancestors, the Australopithecines, split into two different lineages. On the one hand, you had the Paranthropines, big, meaty, robust monsters with giant jaws and chewing muscles. And on the other hand, you had the hominins. Small, gracile, and with characteristically very big brains. Starting with Homo habilis, the handyman, the first creature in history to make and use stone tools. And from there, we leaned into the big brain thing real hard. The Paranthropines stuck around for another million or so years, but they were quickly outcompeted by another one of our ancestors, Homo erectus, who had a brain that was over double the size of the biggest Paranthropine, Paranthropus boisei. They were the first ones to control fire. They were the first ones to make better stone tools in over 1 million years, and they paved the way for us, the Homo sapiens, to take over the world.
Why are there so many slugs out here? Look at them. Look at that one. Oh my God. It's like the land of 1,000 slugs. Look at this one. Oh, look at that one. Good day. Hello. Good day to you. Be careful, lady. There are slugs afoot. This one's really big. This one's really big. Oh my God. Look at this one. Limax maximus, the leopard slug. Oh my God. Oh, you're a dark one. Look at you. Oh my goodness, what a tiny boy. Some of them are over here by these bricks. Look at them. They're just so sweet, you know? Look at how sweet they are. Just slugging about, doing slug stuff for slug reasons. This is the tiniest slug I've ever seen! Oh, but look at the size of this one!
I get asked quite a bit to talk about the scientists that took bone marrow and turned it into sperm cells. And does this mean that we can finally just get rid of all men? I'm like, yeah, sure, fine, that sounds super interesting, but you're missing the coolest part. Because a few years after that study was done, there was another one where scientists in, I believe, Japan took some skin cells from mice and turned those skin cells into egg cells, and then fertilized those egg cells and produced from them a full litter of healthy, viable, fertile new mice. If we can produce functional sperm and eggs in a laboratory, imagine what reproductive biology is going to look like in the next 10 years. Imagine women that are past menopause that can now have kids again. Imagine men that were born sterile that can now have children of their own. Imagine the same-sex couples that can now produce their own biological children together. And most excitingly, imagine a beautiful new world where the phrases "because you're a boy" or "because you're a girl" count for nothing. This is 3 carbons held together in a chain by single bonds, what we call propane. This is what you use to light your gas grills. Now, if I go over here to this side and add 1 oxygen, that OH group is called an alcohol. So this is called propanol, a 3-carbon alcohol. But if I were to move this oxygen up here, now it's isopropyl alcohol. This is the rubbing alcohol that you use to clean your cuts and your scrapes. It's literally just propane with 1 extra oxygen atom added to it. Have fun chewing on that for the rest of the night. I promise you it is not magic. It's just intermolecular forces. So take a look here at methane. It's just 1 carbon surrounded by hydrogens, like a little sphere. Then there's ethane, 2 carbons in a line. Propane is a little chevron, butane is a ziggy-zaggy lightning bolt, all the way up to this 8-carbon chain called octane. That's what powers your car. The longer these hydrocarbon chains, the easier it is for them to stack up on top of one another, which keeps them stable as a liquid at higher and higher temperatures. So methane, for example, boils at like negative 260 degrees Fahrenheit, but butane doesn't boil until like 30 degrees Fahrenheit, which is why you can compress it as a liquid in your lighter until you hit the button and then it sprays out as a flammable gas. Now you were asking about isopropyl alcohol. This has got this oxygen up here, which is super electronegative. That means it attracts electrons, which gives this side of the molecule a very slightly negative charge, and this side a very slightly positive charge, so it's like a little magnet. So even though it's just basically propane, it can still stick together and stay a liquid. How cool is that? I don't know if this is still the case in like popular culture, but when I was a kid, ants were seen as the symbol of productivity. They were just the beacon of hard work, always working, never sleeping. My grandma used to tell me fairy tales about ants that could move whole mountains, just 1 piece at a time, always working, always working. But you should know that ants do sleep. They don't do it like you or I do. They don't go for a full 8 hours. They just take little micro naps, about 1 minute long. 250 times a day. You just take a little nap. And if you divide 24 hours by 250, you get a number like 0.096. And if you multiply 0.096 times 60, because there's 60 minutes in an hour, you get another number that's 5.76. So every about 5.76 minutes, just take a little nap. Don't fall into the motivational nonsense that you have to forego self-care for success. Work like an ant. Take naps. Yesterday, I watched Josh Helfgott's video about Demi Lovato coming out as non-binary. Now, I don't know anything about Demi Lovato, so I'm not trying to dig up into their life, but I did want to talk about how concerning it was that so many comments on that video were just, what do you mean they, them? They refers to multiple people. What, does she have multiple personalities now? You can't just use they for one person. Let me show you something really cool, okay? I'm going to switch from being your science teacher to your English teacher for just a minute. Watch this. There is one person standing over there. I wonder what their name is. I should go talk to them. I hope that they will be my friend. See how that works? If you think about it for like 1 freaking second, you'll remember that you've done that for as long as you've spoken English. Because if I say, there's a person here, and you say, what is his name? That'd be a really weird assumption that you would never make. So I know that you know that I know that you don't have a problem with the words. You're just looking for a reason to be a dick. Let's talk about this comment for just a second. This person is responding to my video about they, them pronouns, and they're telling me to just stick to biology because I don't know all science. And they're right about that. I don't know all science, which is why you're never going to catch me making a video about like circuitry or about computers. That stuff's just way out of my wheelhouse. But when we're talking about LGBT issues, I am sticking to biology because these people that you're so upset about are people, which means they're well within the scope of my studies. So since we're here anyway, let's try to make this a teachable moment for everybody. First and foremost, biological science is very clear that sex and gender and sexual orientation are 3 completely different things, not one of which is a binary. And secondly, and most importantly, LGBT people are not sick. They do not need your help. What they need is advocacy, representation, and for people who think like this person to either get with the times or get out of the way.